By the end of this video, you'll have learnt a meditation practice called loving kindness, which will make you feel happier, more compassionate, and more positively towards yourself and literally everybody else in your life. So the meditation we'll be learning today is called loving kindness meditation or Metta meditation. Now this isn't to be confused with romantic love. This is a projection of compassion, of kindness, of well-wishing to initially positive people, then neutral people, then negative people, then yourself, and then everybody. And unlike mindfulness, here we're not noticing without judgment the thoughts and feelings and sensations that arise and pass away. We're actively cultivating a new way of thinking and a new way of feeling, and we're trying to sustain this and build on this and create this momentum of positivity towards certain people and ourselves. So Sam Harris says what we're doing here is rewiring our emotional software, and what he means by that is we go through most of our day thinking negatively about ourselves, judging other people, whether that's positively or negatively, and we're taking this position of analysis, and what we're doing here is we're trying to integrate and sustain a new way of thinking which should over time replace our rumination and analysis paralysis and give us a more positive and optimistic view of everybody. And the alternative to this is really quite negative, and essentially if we're judging and feeling negative about others and ourselves, it's only affecting our minds. Those people you walk past or the people that aren't in your life right now, they're not here. So the negativity or the judgment is only existing in our minds. So why not try and implement a tactic that can make our experience more positive and increase well-being and more altruistic? So that's a little bit of the background, and now let's get into the practice. So what is the practice? The practice is essentially to sit down, focus on the breath for a moment or two, and then start to bring somebody to mind. We'll go into the people in the next section. Bring somebody to mind, visualize them if it helps, visualize them in front of you and see them being happy. And then essentially you're thinking positive thoughts. May you be happy, may all your goals be achieved, may you be free from suffering, may you be free from pain, may your relationships go well, may you receive all the things you want in your life and have the relationships you desire. And the crux of this is you're trying to think but also crucially feel this way. So you're trying to build up this feeling of positivity for them within yourself and take pleasure in their happiness, and in return it makes you happy. So this kindness, kind thoughts, compassionate thoughts, you can use your own, you don't have to use the ones I said. Anything which starts to build this positive feeling inside you while visualizing them or just thinking about them, making you feel happy, is all the practice is. And as the thoughts make the feelings, like in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, thoughts create feelings, create actions or attitude. As the feelings rise based on the thoughts and start to dip again, then you stimulate them with new thoughts, and you're trying to create this feeling in the mind and body of positivity and kindness towards them. And very much like mindfulness, when you're just focusing on the breath, focusing on an object, and you become distracted by thoughts, you notice it as a thought. Don't try and get drawn into it. Notice it will fade away by itself, or engage with that thought to see it as a thought, and it will pass away. But then instead of returning to the breath or returning to the sounds or your object of mindfulness, return to your positive thoughts and positive feelings for that individual. So I've explained the context, that's the practice. There's 5 stages to this. There's a positive person, a negative person, a neutral person, yourself, and all people. You don't have to use all of them in one meditation. Usually you'd pick positive, neutral, and then either a negative, yourself, or everybody. So let's go through the 5 stages of Metta or loving kindness meditation. So when many people teach Metta, loving kindness meditation, they often start with themselves. And as I've learned from Jack Cornfield and Sam Harris, this is quite a complicated way to start. Whereas picking a close friend, or I use my brother or my best friend, someone that it's easy but not complicated to project positivity for, is the best place to start. So as you bring this person to mind, I would see them, imagine them being happy, just as I explained in the methods. And you'll start to feel and think these positive thoughts, may you be happy, may you be well, may you accomplish many things. And you want this to be a genuine effort. You actually want them to be happy. And you take happiness in their happiness. And as you bring them to mind, you would cultivate this positive feeling. As it starts to dip again, back to how you usually think and feel, you again reinforce it with another positive thought or positive feeling, and try and build that momentum incrementally, thinking about that person, visualizing that person, and see how that makes you feel. Wanting someone to be happy makes you feel happier as a result. So that's the first place I would start, and then on to the second, which would be the neutral person. So the second object or person you are choosing to project in your loving kindness meditation would be a neutral person. And remember, if you get lost in thought, notice the thought and come back to this cultivation of positive feelings, this strategic introduction of positive thoughts and feelings. So a neutral person could be someone you passed in your car today, somebody you see at a coffee shop but you don't know, anybody who you don't have a positive feeling for or a negative feeling for. This is crucial. So as you start to do the same practice, visualize this person. Even if you don't have them particularly solidified in your mind, you can think of any individual where you don't think positive or negative towards. So when you start to cultivate, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering, again, a genuine want for this absolute stranger to have a better life, and see how that makes you feel. And what this is doing is it's making you connect and feel more compassionate towards all people. Now, there's a psychologist from Yale University who runs a happiness course called Laurie Santos. She speaks about happiness being increased by contact with strangers. So when you're walking your dog and you bump into somebody you've never seen, or you're out at a restaurant or a coffee shop or a shop generally, and you speak to someone who you've never spoken to before, you're afraid of it, you don't think it's going to make you happier, but afterwards that interaction, like, wow, I actually spoke to this person, got a little bit from it, they probably got a little bit from it, that's great. So if you can take that principle in your day-to-day life, and then this principle of loving kindness, actively wanting the better for these people and more compassion for strangers, combining those two together could really increase your levels of happiness and altruism and connection to society. So if you're liking this so far, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. And now we'll go on to a slightly trickier person, which is the negative person. So the third object or person of meditation would be a negative person. Now, it may seem very counterintuitive to want to wish well to somebody that may have wronged you or wronged somebody else, or you actively dislike. But remember, as we touched on earlier, all negative feelings are only happening in your mind, your body, and your brain. So to wish them well makes you feel better. And it's a real angle into forgiveness, loving kindness meditation. Because if you can see somebody that you actively dislike, pitch them in your mind, doing well, prospering, feeling happy, feeling healthy, and you actively don't like that person, what a win that is. Because you're, as the Stoics say, to defeat your enemy is to be the opposite of them. You don't want to hold on to negativity, because it's only your negativity, really. So if you can project happiness in the same way, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you achieve all the things you want to in your life, there may be some real resistance at the start. But try and see that as just a thought. Try and notice that as a thought, and then come back to this practice. And maybe someone's hurt you, offended you, upset you, or somebody you love, which may even cut you deeper to the core. See how it changes your experience of thoughts and interactions in your day, if you ever see that person, if you genuinely want them to be happy. Now, it's tricky, I understand, but it's a key part of Buddhism to love people, forgive people, to let go of negativity that's only really damaging yourself. And this is something I struggled with and I find extremely useful. And when I see these people in my life or from my past, that anger or that disappointment or that place of being upset is in the past, and now we're practicing loving kindness in the present and for our future, and I think that's very useful. So again, wish them well, wish them happiness. If you become distracted, see it as a thought, come back to that practice of wanting them to have the best life and see how it actually makes you feel better as a result. So the fourth person or fourth object of loving kindness meditation will be yourself. So the fourth object of loving kindness meditation would be yourself. And this may seem like the hardest one to begin to implement. Many of us feel depressed, anxious, stressed, critical of ourselves. And we find it hard to actively wish ourselves well and wish ourselves the best. And I think it's because a lot of us, we're not taught this. So I came to this very, very late. And what you can do is replace that overthinking, analysis, rumination with kind, compassionate thoughts in like mini meditations throughout your day. You can pause and just say, may you be happy. May you achieve the ones you want to achieve, and see how that switches. You can't think negatively and positively at the same time. You can notice the negativity, then change and implement some positive thinking. So this can be a hard place to access because we're used to habitually thinking a certain way. But as Sam Harris said, we're trying to rewire our emotional software. And a really little tip or a little hack of doing this is to see yourself as a child. So instead of visualizing yourself and saying, may you be happy, may you achieve all the things you want to do, see yourself as a younger version of yourself, maybe 7 or 8 for a couple of seconds, then older and older and older until you reach maybe a teenager. And if you want that person to be happy, they would want you to be happy, and that person is you. We can just find it quite hard at times to wish ourselves in the present happiness, but we can project it onto our child self a little bit easier. So it's a real battle to get here, and that's why I don't think it's the best if you're dealing with any sort of mental suffering or physical pain or stress to start with yourself. Start with somebody that's a little bit easier to project that positivity towards, and then eventually bring it in to yourself. May you be happy, may you be positive, may you achieve the things you want to achieve. And as Jordan Peterson says, treat yourself like someone you're responsible for caring for. Treat yourself like a friend. And this is a meditative way of tackling that, of taking a step back, wanting happiness for yourself and treating yourself like someone you care about. And it will, over time, cross over that thinking, rumination, analysis to compassion, kindness, and wanting more and wanting a well-being for yourself. So let me know so far in the comments which one you think is the best starting point, which one you would try and implement, whether you think it's yourself or a positive person or a neutral person. Which one do you think is the most interesting? Let me know. And from after that, we'll go on to the final stage of this, which is all people. So the final product or the accumulation of all these practices is then to turn loving kindness to compassion, to wanting the best of others, onto all people. And in Stoicism, there's a practice called the zoom, where you imagine yourself in your house and you zoom out to your street, to your neighborhood, to your town, to your city, to your country, and so on. And that's to see the perspective on everybody going through very similar problems to yourself. But in a loving kindness way, you could think of yourself being happy, then think of the people in your house, wanting them to be happy, then the people on your street, you want them to be happy, then the people in your town, and so on and so on and so on. And you want all people, all beings to be happy. And it's like the final stage of this practice. So as I said earlier, you might not want to do all of these in one session, but if you say chose a positive person, negative, yourself, and then all people, or a neutral person, yourself, and then all people. It's a way to cultivate and build this into something which then is radiating out of you. And then similarly to the neutral person, you'll go throughout your day wanting and looking at people and wanting the best for them, not judging them, and as a result wanting the best for yourself and feeling better in your mind. So what I hope you've taken from this is the idea behind the practice, that we're trying to rewrite our emotional software, and how our frame of mind determines the quality of our life, how we can see through this new, slightly ethical, compassionate lens rather than judgment and analysis of everything. We can project happiness, and we want to be on the same team as other people. We want to be on the same team as ourselves. And this will effectively improve our psychological life, our ethical life, our social life. And yeah, I hope this can make you feel more compassionate, more grateful, slightly more in touch with others and yourself, and want the best for everybody. After all, it's only appearing in our mind, and to have a positive state rather than a negative state can only be beneficial for us. So if you've liked this, I'll be doing a guided meditation on loving kindness, and probably a few actually, on the different elements I've gone into today. And be sure to check out my other video on how mindfulness itself can improve happiness and compassion and kindness, which I'll link at the end. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. Until next time, take care, my friends.